Hello and welcome to the third installment of the New Hampshire Driving Towards Zero program. My name is Kimberley Haas. Today I'm joined by Howard Hedegard and Rhonda Siegel. Thank you so much for being with us today to talk a little bit about teen driving and some of the risks that teenagers face on the road. Maybe I could start by having each of you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm Howard Hedegard, the Highway Safety Specialist at the Injury Prevention Center at Dartmouth, and I am deeply involved in teen driving, seatbelt use, distracted driving, anything really that ties back in some way to our teen drivers.
And Rhonda?
And I'm Rhonda Siegel with, I'm the Injury Prevention Program Manager with the Division of Public Health Services at the Department of Health and Human Services. And so I manage a variety of different injury programs, including co-chairing with Howard, the Teen Driving Committee, which is a group of people across the state who are interested in issues related to teen driving.
Now, what are some of the main issues that you think of when you think of teen driving and teen drivers?
Teen driving, 16 and 17-year-old drivers in particular, just for no other reason than the fact that they're new at it, face the greatest risk face a greater risk than any drivers face. The majority of 16, 17-year-olds, newly licensed drivers, in my experience, really want to be good drivers, really want to do well. But it's like any other thing that they do, that we do, until you've done it enough, you just really aren't efficient at it, good at it. Compare that to the sports that the kids play. When you think about the amount of time the average teenager spends learning their favorite sport or their favorite music instrument in order to become proficient at it, there's far more time invested than typically they spend before they get their license.
So teens really are a very limited amount of the overall number of licenses in the state of New Hampshire. However, they make up a disproportionate number of the total amount of crashes. So that's what's concerning. And so there are things in place in the state to help to protect them against their inexperience.
What are some of the laws that are put in place to help protect the teenagers?
Well, we have a law in place right now which limits the number of passengers. The more passengers, particularly teen passengers, that a novice 16 or 17-year-old driver has, the more dangerous it is. That dangerousness increases with the number of passengers. So we have a law in this state which says that for the first 6 months, you can't have more than one non-related teen passenger in the car.
What do you think that that is, that the teens are more distracted the more teen passengers they have?
I think that there's, you know, one of the, or I should say the top two reasons that teens crash are speed, and the second is inattention. And I think that those passengers, those extra passengers, you know, contribute to inattention and distraction. So.
The only exception to the law is that if you have a licensed driver in your vehicle who is above the age of 25, then you can have more than one non-family member teen driver. But to build on what Rhonda said, the studies just show over and over again, for all teens, but especially with male teen drivers, when there are 2, 3, 4 teen males in the car without an adult, someone with more life experience, someone with more driving experience, the crash rate just is significantly higher, and it's already, unfortunately, too high just because of the newness of the driving experience.
Do you think that teenagers egg each other on when they're in the vehicle with each other, or do you think it's just the simple fact that they have someone to talk to or to play popular music with and things of that nature?
I think it's probably the latter. I don't think that any teen is consciously trying to distract his or her friend from driving. I think it's just the nature of being a teen and the nature of the newness of the driving. And there's so many distractions already that another person your own age, as a novice driver, just adds that little bit more to the dangerousness of the situation.
I teach a driving attitude course, and many of the folks who come to the course are young males, young teen males. And although when you look at the distraction side, they typically do not deliberately distract one another. As Rhonda says, the distraction process itself just occurs because of the number of people. But when it comes to the speed, the aggressive driving related things, it is not uncommon for young males to encourage the male driver to take greater risk for the thrill of it, for the, well, the roadways in so many communities have them where there's the bump in the road, and if you build up just enough speed, you go airborne just a bit, you get that kind of thrill, the adrenaline rush from that and anything else. It's not uncommon. I don't think most teens will do that, but enough teens do it that it really makes the driving experience far more risky, not only for the teens, but others who share the road with them.
Yeah, it's very dangerous for everybody. What are some of the things that you recommend to parents who are concerned about their teen drivers? Should they be in the vehicle with them?
I recommend drive with your teen. So the more experience you give with your teen, the better. Having a parent in the car is a good sort of buffer, and it's actually a protective factor. And so the more you drive, the more experiences, you know, driving during the day, driving at night, driving in the snow, driving when, you know, when it's not snowy, driving with the radio on. I think the more experiences and the longer that a parent can drive with their teen, the better.
Current New Hampshire law requires any 16 or 17-year-old who wants to be licensed to take a driver's education program. In addition to that, the teen has to drive a minimum of 40 hours practice driving. Typically that occurs with the parents, and of that 40 hours, 10 of them have to be at night. Best practice nationwide suggests that 60 hours or so should be the minimum. When you think about 40 hours, that plus the time that they have in the driver education car, blended together, that is just not a whole lot of behind the wheel time, contrasted to the amount of hours that you and I, that the average driver over a lifetime begins to build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too that when you're in driver's ed, you don't necessarily get the chance to get the experiences like Rhonda said, in the snow, in maybe the pouring rain, at night. You know, you wouldn't necessarily go out those days if you're just practicing. So continual practice after licensing is a really great idea.
Another thing that parents can do, which is really important and actually has been shown to help reduce the risk of crashing or serious crashes, is to establish a contract above and beyond what the law says. So with your novice drivers, say, you know, I don't want you driving past such and such time at night. Nighttime is a particularly risky time, nor having more than you know, no friends. And so they can go above and beyond what's already legislated, or the same, you know, remember that there are these rules and let's write them down, let's talk about them, let's talk about, you know, what I'd like to do for you to help, you know, protect you, even though they may have, you know, already gotten their license and you know, have a license and passed a test and went to driver's ed. So making a contract with your teen is another option that you have that can be good.
I think that the parent is the best resource that a teen driver has, is the best resource that we who are involved in highway safety have. The more involved, can't underscore and can't agree with Rhonda more, the more involved the parent of the teen driver is, the more the parent understands the true risks of driving, especially for their teens, the more, just the better, the safer their child will become as a driver. And when I think about the fact that in a typical year, some 3,500 teens lose their lives in motor vehicle crashes. Crashes are the leading cause of death for our young people. The leading cause of injury, and many of those injuries become life-changing injuries. We have a tendency to believe it will not happen to us, that it will not happen to our children, that our family will not touch or feel it, and we just have to accept the fact that it is happening to families just like ours. It's happening to teens just like ours, and we have to make the commitment to them to keep them and everyone on the road with them as safe as possible.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, everybody at home, for watching this segment. Make sure to check out the New Hampshire Driving Towards Zero website. That's nhdtz.com. You can take the pledge there to practice safe driving habits for yourself. Encourage your teenage drivers to also take that pledge and, like Rhonda said, establish a contract between yourself and your child to help keep them safe and to remind them that it's important to always drive safely, not only for themselves, but for the health and well-being of others. Thank you. My name is Kimberley Haas. Have a great day. And welcome back to our second segment on teen driving for the New Hampshire Driving Towards Zero program. Make sure to check out their great website. It's nhdtz.com and take the pledge to be a safe driver yourself. Now I'm joined by 3 teenagers from Londonderry High School who are part of the Pay It Forward program. I'll have you all introduce yourselves and then you can give us some insight into what you thought about the first portion of this segment.
I'm Stevie Kroll, and I'm a senior at the high school in Londonderry.
I'm Taylor Miller, and I'm also a senior.
I'm Marissa Roger, and I'm a sophomore.
Okay, so I understand that each of you has different levels of driving experience. You just got your driver's license. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
And you have 1 year of experience and you have 2. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about first what it's like to just get your driver's license and everything that goes into it. And then maybe you two can chime in and tell us a little bit about what you've seen during your time on the road, either driving yourself or driving with others, okay?
Well, the big thing, like driving my first time, I wasn't nervous like for me to be driving. I was nervous of the other people around me driving because like you never know like who's gonna do what on the road. So the biggest thing for me was like making sure my phone wasn't like somewhere I'll be like tempted to look at if I get a text or anything, because I know like a second if I take my eyes off the road, anything could happen. So that was like the big thing. But in like the radio too, like you want it to be high and like you want to be like cool and stuff, but it's just so distracting, especially if you're trying to like change a song or change the station. So the big thing for me was just like making sure I keep my eyes on the road and stuff.
Yeah, and it's really smart of you to make sure that your phone is away, and you don't want your music too loud because then you can't hear the other cars around you either. Was it hard to pass your driving test? What was the driving test like here in New Hampshire?
I had an easy time. For the written, you have to get 32 questions right out of 40, and I only got 3 wrong, so I got 37 out of 40. And that wasn't bad. It was a lot of like situational like things, like what's the best thing to do, like signs and like how many feet you need to be away from the curb when you're parallel parking, like things like that. And the driving test it wasn't bad. Like you just had to really make sure you were paying attention and like use your directional. But they were easy. Well, I shouldn't say easy, but they were not. If you were prepared, it wasn't bad.
So it sounds like preparation was a real key to it. Did your parents take you out to help you practice prior to the test?
Yeah, they always took me, like even if I was going to school for practice or something, even if it was 5 minutes, they'd have me drive, just because the extra practice would make such a big difference.
Yeah, now how about the two of you? What has driving been like since you got your licenses?
Well, when I first got my license my sophomore year, I ended up actually getting a speeding ticket 7 months later. And after that, I had to take like a class and everything, and I didn't get my license taken away. I was on probation for like a year, so I couldn't get pulled over for anything, and that actually made me learn to like, I'm literally constantly always looking at my speedometer and like all my mirrors and stuff, and sometimes if I feel like I'm gonna be going too fast, I'll put like my cruise control on, so like I set it at the right speed so I don't go faster, because it was the worst thing in the world getting a ticket. Like you have all of that freedom and stuff, and then like it can be taken away in like a second. So it made me like more cautious and stuff, but yeah, it's scary.
And yeah, I've been driving for about a year, so like the new license effect kind of wears off. You know, you get more comfortable when you're driving and it becomes almost like second nature, but you still have to be really alert about what you're doing and stuff, because there are distractions out there.
Yeah, and you'll always have to be really alert when you're driving. It doesn't matter how old you are, even if you're 80, because, you know, like you said, there's other people on the road, and you have to be watching to see what they're doing, even if you're comfortable yourself.
Yeah.
What's your biggest piece of advice for other teen drivers? Is it, you know, be aware? Is it, you know, don't distract your friends? Is it no texting?
I would go with be aware and don't distract your friends, because if you're just like not really paying attention, like you said, it comes like kind of a second nature. Like I've had my license for 2 years, so it's just like you just get in the flow of things and you're not as like, okay, look here, look here, look here, look here. It just kind of happens. And you don't want to like lose track of that, and then also not distracting your friends, and texting is like a big one, because you can look down, even if you're still, you know, going straight and stuff, someone else might not be. They could be texting to you in a different car, and then you crash, and so like anything can really happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Yeah, texting is the big one. Just it's the most important thing that you're not going to want to do. And sometimes it gets tempting, like your phone will go off next to you, but you just have to make sure that you don't check it or pull over if it's an emergency.
My friends are actually really good about the whole texting thing, especially the kids in the Pay It Forward group. After we took the pledge to not text and drive with the Driving Towards Zero, if my phone goes off, they're like, oh, I'll answer it if you want me to, or they'll take the phone out of my hand if I like go to pick it up and stuff. So we always like catch each other, which I think is really helpful. My biggest fear is going down like a one-way. Like I think that would be like the scariest thing ever. So when like, especially when I drive in Manchester or Boston, and like there's so many other cars and like crazy drivers that you're just like, you just zone everything out. Like music's off, you're not listening to your friends, you're just like paying attention like 100%.
And why would you have to go into Manchester or Boston? I mean, do you have to drive in big cities a lot?
I don't have to, but I like to just go out with my friends a lot and stuff, and Boston's like my favorite city, so I go there like on the weekends a lot and stuff, and my friends don't like driving in Boston, but I grew up there, so I'm kind of used to it, so I always offer to. And Manchester, like go out to dinner sometimes, and there's like sporting events in Manchester, so then you'll catch yourself having to drive there. So
What about speeding? Do any of you notice that your friends speed?
Yeah, like whenever I'm in the car with a friend and I see them speeding, like usually I don't say anything unless it's like really bad, but it is like a little bit like alarming, especially now that I'm driving, because like I'm more aware of things now because I have to be looking for them when I'm driving. So it's just kind of like in the back of my head, but I probably should speak up, so.
And how about seatbelt use? Do you all wear your seatbelts all the
Yes.
time?
yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that's something that's like second nature to you as well.
You just get in the car and you do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't, which surprises me, but like they just don't.
Yeah, my friends are really good at if you don't put your seatbelt on, they're like, I'm driving, this is my car, if something happens,
Yeah.
like it's my responsibility, so like you have to put your seatbelt on. So we kind of make each other too.
Right. So you use positive peer pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if like parents enforce it when you're young.
Yeah.
It's just like the first thing you do when you get in a car. I know it is for me at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so having a positive role model like your
Yeah,
parents makes you want to do the right thing
Yeah.
when you get older. Okay, what are some of the other things that you can think of that people do or don't do that are either safe or unsafe in the vehicle?
I hate when I see people not using their blinker. I remember before I even got my license, I was excited because I like the clicky noise that it makes. So I always use my blinker, even because of that, and because like my dad, I know he doesn't sometimes, and it makes me so mad because like when you're on the highway and someone's just like going into your lane, you don't know about it. You just want to like yell at them, but you obviously can't. And so I just think it's dangerous when people don't like use their directionals because you don't know what they're gonna end up doing. So that's one of my pet peeves.
Now, I know you're all underage, but have you ever seen anybody drinking and driving in the vehicle?
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've definitely heard of it, like some kids in our school, and that sets me off. Like if I hear if a friend or a friend of a friend does it, or if one of my friends gets in a car with someone who does it, like I just think it's like the dumbest thing that you could do. Like you have to use your brain. If you can't you just can't drive when you're under the influence of anything. Like, so I hate when I hear about it. I try not to pay attention.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I know, like, your decision making is like not as good as it would be if you were sober, but you have to think ahead too. Like, if you know you're going somewhere and there's the possibility of having alcohol or any kind of drug there, like, you need to use your head and say, okay, am I gonna be tempted to do this? If I am, maybe I shouldn't drive. Like, or when you get there, give the keys to whoever, like somewhere where you're not gonna be tempted to leave. So I think it's like a big thing, like planning, like you need a plan and think, so.
Yeah, I always make myself, if I like know of like a party or if I hear there's gonna be alcohol there and I'm not going, I'll tell any of my friends I know that are going, like, listen, if you get caught up in something and you can't drive, like, you can call me. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, because I'll come pick you up, like, no matter what, because I would rather lose a little bit of sleep than have them risk that, so.
And you would hope too that they'd be able to call their parents. They'd have
Yeah, just if,
a good
yeah.
enough relationship with their parents.
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
can
Call your parents
them.
first, but if that doesn't work out, like, I'm always here to pick you guys up, so.
Yeah, and you can do that because you've had enough experience that you
Right.
don't have to worry about the laws that prohibit driving
Right.
in the middle of the night. Now, have any of you ever known anybody that got killed or seriously injured in a car accident?
My friend's uncle, it was a few years back, but I remember she was telling me that he wasn't paying attention, he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, and he crashed into a tree, and he went right through the windshield, and he lost like half of his brain. He missed the birth of his daughter, and also one of my really close friends, her mom recently passed away from a driving accident. She wasn't wearing her seatbelt, and she also went through the windshield, so.
How about you?
I don't know of like too many people personally. There was the one from our school, but not anyone that I was very close with that I knew that well.
Yeah, I don't know anyone personally besides the one in our school, but.
Well, that's good. Hopefully you never will.
Yeah.
And hopefully everybody at home too also never has to suffer the loss of a loved one. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, everybody at home, for watching today's segment. We certainly appreciate your viewership. Once again, go on to New Hampshire Driving Towards Zero. Take the pledge to be a safe driver yourself. And my name is Kimberley Haas. Have a great day.